Thanks for joining. I'm excited to be back here at Drupal MountainCamp. I was here in 2019. I'm excited for you to come listen to my experience in the field of digital service, Drupal mostly. I see there's a bit fewer people than in Alex's session before, so I guess competition is fierce with Mika's session.
Right.
That's all right.
Good to see you all.
So I'm happy that you're here.
So my idea is really that this
I'll be talking about making happy client relationships in digital services
so
and how to
please
keep
anytime
those relationships happy.
if you have any questions.
So this is the Drupal MountainCamp in 2019. I was also holding this session 6 years ago, a previous version of it. Every year I travel to DrupalCon or DrupalCamp, and it's been on my bucket list to come back here to Drupal MountainCamp, to Switzerland. And the trip to Davos is such an amazing trip, as is the atmosphere in the mountains. So it was on my bucket list. I'm back here with my wife. It's her first camp in 10 years, so I'm happy that we're here. So combining holiday with Drupal MountainCamp is a great privilege. So thank you for being here. This is me, DrupalCon Lille 2023, doing a previous version of the presentation that I do today. By the way, can everybody hear me all right? Back in the back? Yeah? So here's me 2017, DrupalCamp Helsinki in Finland, giving a keynote about customer experience and digital strategy. And this is just to give you a bit of background on what I've been talking about in the past few years. And I like sharing these insights that I've made. Most of the insights come from doing digital services as a digital service provider over the course of 20 years. Things I've come to learn, sometimes the hard way. And in close collaboration with clients, with digital teams, contract managers, and everybody involved in making software, right? So hopefully you'll have one or two things you will benefit from. And by the way, I'm talking as a digital service provider, as an agency providing like services, I think. So is anyone here not a service provider but a client, a user, an organization using Drupal, not providing? No? So we're all friends, right? No, I don't mind dialogue. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts. If you have any questions burning, just feel free to ask. I think we have some time left in the end. Well, my name is Imre Gmelig Meijling, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the CEO of digital agency React Online in Eindhoven, the Netherlands. I've worked with various agencies in Europe, as well as some well-known brands and organizations that I've been providing Drupal with. I'm with Drupal for 8 years and 4 months, so just you came months after me, I think, Alex. And I'm also involved in, as a member of the board of directors of the Drupal Association with Alex, and the DrupalCon Europe Executive Advisory Committee with Gabor Hoci and Buddy Reitert. So a little bit about React Online and Eindhoven, and what's this little place called Eindhoven. We're from Holland, and Eindhoven is the home base of Philips, the home appliance light bulbs. They also do industrial medical appliances, and ASML, and they're very well known for their chip manufacturing machines they provide, and they're doing very well, obviously, providing a lot of chip making and microprocessor machines to AI companies these days. So some of us are into science fiction at React Online. We also have automated our office with open source Home Assistant. As you can see, we've hooked our light speakers to our CRM. So whenever we win a deal, the lights fire up and we hear the speakers. And I always like this. So. Every action taken by human beings is based in love or fear. Not simply those dealing with relationships, but also decisions affecting business, industry, politics, the education of our children, geopolitical agendas of nations. And fear is the energy which contracts, closes down, draws in, runs, hides, hoards, and harms. Love is the energy which expands, opens up, sends out, stays, reveals, shares and heals. Fear clings to and clutches all we love, that we have. Love gives everything away. Fear holds close. Love holds dear. So every choice you undertake has roots in one of these underlying thoughts. The thought of love or thought of fear. So for a long time, we've been talking about the survival of the fittest and the victory of the strongest and the success of the cleverest. Precious little is sometimes said about the glory of the most loving. And so we strive to be the fittest, the strongest, the cleverest, and we fear loss, for we've been told that to be less is to lose, right? Now, I strongly believe that this has been the root cause, much of that we, as adults, the fear that we bring into our lives. We've been making great steps in recent times, right? Much has changed for people to be themselves, regardless whether they are the cleverest or fit the bill. And I got these insights from a book called An Uncommon Dialogue with God by Neil Donald Walsh. It's not a Christian book, but the values did stick with me. And I think they will for the rest of my life. And I believe business relationships are done very much rely on these principles. And it was a revelation to me that it so much determines how we do our business. Whether it's building websites or apps or something else. So, in the previous version of the session, I was talking about inexperienced Agile teams. But what is inexperienced anyway? And who am I to judge, right, about your experiences? Experiences can be just subjective. So most of this will hold up regardless of your Agile experience. But they do come from digital experiences and Agile values. So I would rather talk much more about how to overcome fears in digital projects. Hence my little introduction just now. So, I like watching science fiction. There are many different sorts and types. Not all books and movies are my taste, but Star Trek I do enjoy. And if you're not into science fiction, that's okay. I use it just to make something clear and to illustrate something in a moment that I've been doing for over a decade. And this here is the Vulcan mind meld. If you're not into Star Trek, so Vulcans are an alien race, right? And humans have made contact with in the distant future. The whole series plays out in the future, a couple of 100 years. And this is Mr. Spock on the right, lays his hand on the face of this woman. It's not a romantic thing. It's a way to connect two minds. So this has been done on several occasions throughout the series, also from a woman to a man or with other races. And the connection allows someone to look through somebody else's eyes and somebody else's mind, as if the person has lived the other one's life, basically. So essentially, it lets people see, experience your world the way you see it, if you're a Vulcan, that is. And while Vulcans aren't supposed to show their emotions, it usually is an emotional moment, because in a very brief moment, knowledge, experience, emotions, memories, and concepts are transferred from one mind to another. And I realize we are doing the sort of the same thing when we start our projects. For me, this is the basis for something that I call an Agile mind map, and I still call it that when I plan a session when we start a project. And although depending on the people that we have at the table, I sometimes refer to it as Agile kickoff, because you may have those market managers or IT managers that are totally not into science fiction. That's okay. But it's a session of about 2 hours at least, taking time to let the people see the world through your eyes. So I strongly encourage you to invite your client to this onboarding session, and encourage all the stakeholders to come, and management as well, so they understand firsthand from the start how you play the game, how the game is going to be played. And it's one of the greatest opportunities to have people in one room at a table and let them get acquainted. Overcoming setbacks when they are core, it's so much less hard, when they have gone through that session and when they have a face, right, behind the people that we're working with. So, when we do this, we talk about Agile values, how the scope is not fixed, things might fall out. We explain what the backlog is about, talk about user stories, about sprint reviews, and most importantly, about how we're after a partnership for good or for worse. So I'm going to be honest when we're in this session about all the caveats and pitfalls, and make sure that we express our fears, but also have everyone express theirs as well. That's so powerful. And I've had people say over and over again, if this is how we're going to do it, in that case, I would like, and whatever comes after that, are one of the key takeaways of the session, which is exactly what you want out in the open early on. So remember this, and this is very important. A partnership where all the risks are on one side of the partnership, that's outdated and old-fashioned. It's a recipe for disaster. I know the Dutch can be full, but I literally say this at the very first meeting that we do every time, and at the Agile Mindmeld for sure. So if you don't do this session yet, I strongly encourage you to make this session a big one on the agenda for your next project and do these things. Now, the Port of Rotterdam was the largest port in the world. It's the largest port in Europe now. Back in 2015, they were number 9 on the list, and I suspect the Asian ports have gone bigger by now. But the website and all the digital platforms and maritime services were built in Drupal back then, including barging, routes into Europe mainland, docking, warehousing, and much, much more. And this is me doing a sprint review back then, but the Agile Mindmeld was done in the exact same way. So this is Head Cleaner. It's the worst band ever. Who actually listen to micro cassettes like these with music, right? Well, that's not everyone. So these are cassettes, right? With tape. They have music on. Put them in a player, like video cassettes. And this is Head Cleaner. And this little joke, because it has no tape. It has these little filter tips, and you put them in clean fluid, and it cleans heads, so your player plays the music better. So, how easy it is to interpret things in different ways, right? And this joke makes it painfully clear. Everybody looks at the world with a different set of eyes and a different mindset. And that's why it's crucial to align and make sure everybody sees eye to eye on the things that we're trying to accomplish and that we will be working together on for months as a team. So that's why it's an open door, but expectation management, and it takes time, right? People may complain about many meetings. To this day, I still have people like, why so many meetings? But that's what it takes to build software together, even if it may take up an entire sprint of meetings. So you cannot compromise on alignment and expectations when working with people. Many of the things that I've shown here come from our sales deck, straight from our sales deck, or like for Agile Mindmeld deck. So this is very important that we all see eye to eye on these rule sets and how we're going to play games. I'm going to talk about ownership for a bit, in particular the vital part that's played by a product owner. So the concept of a product owner often needs some explaining, and this is the definition that we use, that we have on screen when we do our projects. And I highlight the part about time and money. Any decision made by the product owner probably has impact on time, money, and scope. Now, in most cases, I know ahead of time who the product owner is going to be, or I ask them up front. They think the product owner is going to be in the project. Now here's Kim. She's actually one of our product owners, and I put her photo up on the screen and declare that she will be the product owner, even during the sales page, and most certainly during the Agile Mindmeld. And when I stress the fact that Kim is going to make decisions on time and money, usually someone sits up straight and says, "Oh, but that's not her. That's going to be me." And that's when I will say, then you will be my product owner, right? And that decision is exactly the point I want to make. Because I don't have the time to move like 2, 3, 4 people doing the stakeholder management when I need decisions, right? In this case, it proved to be Kim, all right, and she's doing a great job at that. Of course, I tell them it's okay to involve the stakeholders, gladly so. We actually may need to speak to them, but I need someone who understands if decisions need to be made, and sometimes need to be made quick. And it will most certainly come to that, as we all know, when we do make websites and do projects together. So make it absolutely clear if you want something in the project, or have a question whether or not it should be in scope. You should be best friends with Kim. She's in charge of the budget and everything that we are going to make. All right? Does anybody know this little graphic? Yeah? It's funny, right? So what happens when you wait? When you wait to do commits until the end of the sprint or at the end of the project, or to raise an issue about something that's not clear and that may have significant impact on the project. Now, it's funny, but also a plain example on how things sometimes turn out when you continue on the path, without the proper regard for the implications. If you don't raise questions, if something is not quite clear, well, we start building it anyway. It happens all the time, and that's why we live by this axiom, early and often, and we discuss anything and everything as it's relevant, promptly and directly. Anything, like problem impediments, whether the room is too cold, where we lack the feedback from client, and the sooner less waste. And this seems obvious, right? Yet we have this reminder hanging in our wall because it's very important and how easy it is to forget this. Early and often, when I hear the mantra start echoing from our clients, I think, there's something that we've achieved. I'm very happy when clients start repeating this to me. Another daily mantra are 3-day questions. Is there anything that's holding you back from achieving what's in design or the user stories? This is actually on top of the screen every day for us. Is there anything that's going to be different from the design or what's in the user stories? And is anything taking up more or less time than estimated? Now here's an example that I came across from a digital agency called Aiden Speakerman. They have offices in Europe and in the US, and their manifesto a bit forward, but I like the way, how they're open about how they work. You look at number 7, trust us, you hired us because we do something you cannot. Now, trust is something that you need to build on, right? And when two parties, they both need to work on that trust. But there must be an understanding of something, some faith that you put in one another, at least when you start working together from start. And that's why you hired us, right? So to recap, on the first half, how to overcome fears in digital projects. Build a relationship built on trust. And the Agile Mind Meld is a great Vulcan technique, opportunity, or whatever you like to call it. Align expectations and take the time. The product owner is best friend. Make sure everyone knows who this is and appoint one from day one, or have one appointed, and make the concept very clear. Eliminate waste early and often, and ask those 3 daily questions, and do this consistently, without excuses. This is a way of life for us. Right, so on part 2. So let me ask you a question. So who here has had to deal with a little overrun on one of your projects recently? Just a little different an estimate on the ICs? Yep, we all have. Thank you. So we all have something, that takes more time than anticipated, right? So suppose you have your kitchen installed, right? And there's a setback. The plumbing might break during constructions or whatever. And I guess there's this moment where the instructor, the install person needs to tell you that it will take another 1,000 Swiss francs or euros to fix a day's work. So hard to reach base, maybe underground, new plumbing materials and so on. So I guess in our projects it's no different. It all depends if, are you willing to go forward on this together, and how good you are at selling your setback to your clients. I've seen entire teams absorb the extra costs because they thought it not to be okay. to talk to the client about this. Surely we can go back and tell them that miscalculated. Sure you can. Planning is guessing. It's an interesting quote from the book Rework, written by the founders of the project management tool Basecamp. It's a very good book, by the way. It has a lot of practical things, some more, some less. It's not to say that plans are bad, or that you should have them, shouldn't have them, but they're not to be mistaken for a contractual bond by which one party in the partnership should be punished if the plan is not realized. And this is often very much the case. So there are too many factors out there that, that could impact your planning or your project, right? Market conditions, somebody gets ill, legislation, and so forth. So I'm going to read from the green line. Plans are inconsistent with improvisation. You have to be able to improvise or pick up opportunities. Sometimes you need to say, we're going into this new direction because that's what makes sense for you today. I literally have that part there read out, this is an understanding that we both need to have if we want to be agile together. That's why I always take about an educated guess. Again, this is from my sales pitch, also from the project management deck that we use. It's always an estimate. An estimate is an estimate, it's not an exact number. We are committed, though, only in partnership together, and we will work towards some kick-ass result, but in a way that fits the budget. This is very important to remember, in a way that fits within the budget. So I tell them this the first time that we meet, even sometimes before the contracts are signed. We are delivering an expertise, not result, because we have to find out what the result is going to be exactly together when we start, right? And then there's this. I think we all recognize this in one way or another, right? There are those cases where digital ambitions are very excited, but the budget isn't as big. Obviously, the sooner you can print this out, the better. And this is a funny example, but I would encourage you to be radically transparent upfront about budget expectations. On one or two occasions, I actually lost a relatively large deal because I was radically transparent about what to expect and what not to. But I don't believe in winning a deal already knowing that the budget will fall short big time. And when the project is halfway, bring that bad news. That's a lose-lose proposition. Now, another truth that we hold dear is the product backlog. And as we progress into making a website or a digital experience, teams rely on the product backlog more and more. And they need those well-defined user stories with acceptance criteria, enriched with designs. Right? So why not have the product owner own those user stories? After all, it's the product owner's responsibility to take care after the product backlog, right? Now, in many cases, the product owner, if a contractee or a client understands the concept at all, needs a lot of help with this. They often lack the experience to manage the stakeholders and the stakes, let alone make sure that those user stories are sound, following the invest method or whatever you use to make user stories. But this does not exclude the product owners or the person on the client side's responsibility to make sure that everything is understood correct and to make sure that everything is complete. So whenever there's something that's missing, it is assumed that the contractor, like digital agencies, the service providers that we all are, we catch all these things that are said and emailed and insinuated and meant, but that's an unfair proposition. So we will, from day one, press on the importance of taking the time to look closely at what we write down. This is not just for us. This is actually your requirements that we are putting into words, my dear client. And when clients say to me oh, I thought you, before, 8 weeks ago, we needed conditional fields on our forms, we emailed that to you. I will say to them, I'm sorry, emails and contracts don't count. It should be in the product backlog, right? We need to do this together. So that's why I need to take you, clients, to take the partnership seriously and put the time and review carefully, day by day, what we write down, because that's what it takes to make sophisticated software together. I think that's a one-day job at least. Now, on this photo, there's a team of stakeholders negotiating with a product owner and the interests that they have in the backlog. I printed out all user stories. This took half a day, and my team was present there as well. This important insight that stayed with me is putting people physically in one room together, being able to look each other in the eye, understand each other's needs, and the importance of each of their own stakes that they have in the project, understanding their pains. So they understand so much better. The team gets to explain why adding this multi-step form can be done in the click of a mouse when they look them in the eye. It's also very beneficial for the team actually to understand why things are so important for the client. So many times the team will say, well, you know what, the client can have that in 3 months. It's not important for them. Well, look them in the eye and tell them that. Something completely different happens when you do it like this. This is about being physically together in one room, feeling each other's needs, understanding each other's pains. So one of the key things contractees must learn to understand is to say no based on scope, budget, business goals, whatever. And you must help them discern what is most important and what's less important. Now, I'm not a no person, so I usually say it's not no, but it's a not now. Right? It's very important. If everything is important, nothing is important. Now, Hendrik Knijberg does a wonderful job of explaining this. I've used this video, Agile in a nutshell. It's a 15-minute video. I've used it a lot in my workshops. I'm going to show you 40 seconds of it.
A side effect, though, is that there will be a queue forming in front of the team, a queue in Scrum. The queue needs to be managed. Suppose stakeholders keep asking for 10 new stories every week, and the teams deliver 4 to 6 stories every week. That means the queue will just keep getting longer and longer, right? So before you know it, you have a 6-month-long wish list in the backlog and growing. That means that on average, every story that the team delivers is something that somebody asked for 6 months ago. How agile is that? So there's really only one way to stop the queue from getting out of control, and that word is no. It is the most important word for product owner, and Pat practices it every day in front of the mirror. Saying yes to a new feature request is easy, especially if it only means adding it to an ever-growing backlog. The most important job for product owner is to decide what not to build, and take the consequences of that decision. And that's why it's hard.
So I told them this, and I said, this is your responsibility now. Right? Of course we will help. This is me at Universal Studios a long time ago. And I'm also a huge Back to the Future fan. I watch all 3 films every year. And for those who aren't familiar with Back to the Future, the car is a time machine, right? It's a DeLorean. So why this picture? A lot of stuff in contracts are about what will or must happen in some possible future. Right? Let me explain. I have 3 basic rules for contracts. First, we will not commit to things we cannot control. I'm not going to commit contractually to risks that may be a reality in the future. Putting all the risks on me as a contractor is outdated and old-fashioned. I will not stand for it. If you need penalties and incentives, they should be mutual. And I get those requests for proposal or public tenders, where if I do not deliver in time, there's a penalty involved. I'm not going to work harder with a stick over my head. Right? And we are offering our services and years of experience, not results. But we are committed to helping reach you yours, though. So it's explained even better with a few real-life examples. These examples come from contracts, like building Drupal website contracts, right? Here it says, in any circumstance where deliverables will not be delivered in time in accordance with the preset agreement or is different from it, contractor, me, is neglecting the terms and conditions and is liable for financial consequences. Now, I will formally come to this part, with an alternative proposal, saying that we will immediately convene and discuss issues that impact deliverance according to the agreement prior to being held negligent. Changes to deliverables or their things will not be linked to penalties, and if so, I want them to be mutual. Because I'm going to deliver fast, I want a bonus. This is literally what we talk about at the table. Now, I'm using dark terms when I say this. In Holland, it's quite okay to do it. However, I strongly encourage you to contend with contracts that you see come by, because it's a negotiation, not a commandment. Here's an interesting one, right? Contractor will uphold the application to the latest standards, laws, and regulations and requirements stated by the law and the latest version of our security standards and technical policies. It should always be in accordance with the latest increment of these standards, should they change. Now, I don't have a time machine, so I cannot commit to future regulations. Come on. This is actually quite often in there, especially with like government, semi-government, public tenders. So I will counter with this proposal. I cannot accommodate possible future requirements. If they are to be met, changes will be put forward via the product backlog by the product owner, provided they are technically, legally, and otherwise feasible. Clients absorbs all the costs, risks, and additional consequences, just as with any addition in the backlog. This is a knockout for me for further participation. We're not just auditioning for business, right? We're here to fall in love together as a partnership. That's what it always says until you reach fine print. So I do not have an endless pipeline, by the way. So it takes some risk, like putting this in, but it's a negotiation. It's all right. Recap part 2. Planning is guessing. We are committed to educated estimates in a way that fits the budget. I never leave that part out. The backlog is the truth, not contracts or emails, and that's a mutual responsibility. Do estimates together, feel each other's pains and gains. It's very valuable and refreshing. It's never a no, but a not now. And contracts are a negotiation, not a command. And with that, we're ahead of time. Thank you for listening. Have fun at MountainCamp. And if you have any questions, I'll have them. I'll stick around. We'll have our holiday in Davos, but I'll pop in like tomorrow and the day after. But, anyone has a burning question? Joseph?
Thank you for your insights. One point sparked my interest on daily questions. The number 3 question was, should you, like my recollection is, should you feel like the estimation will be lower or higher, please raise it. I'm interested in your experience. What level of granularity do you tackle there? What's your experience with that? A certain question that you seem to have a big focus on in all the dailies.
Yeah. So thank you. Good question. I have a lot of trouble with estimates. There's a lot of things go wrong all the time. But we just do want to pound on the point that if something is estimated at 16 hours, 2 days, if you hit that 2 days mark, and I know how hard that is, but don't make it 3, 4, 5 days, right? There should be a point like, hey, are we reaching this? I mean, we use Atlassian. It becomes orange if you have like 8 hours left. It becomes red if you go over. It's a priority setting. A lot of things that you can do, but raise that question. Are we in an overrun here? I want to know now, so we can talk to the client about it and make decisions. Does that answer your question a bit? Anybody else? Yeah.
So a big part is
Usman.
Thank you for your insight. Very interesting. I was kind of interested for I see you have book reference and you told like favorite books and so on. And I was wondering if you recommend books or insight to your team to grow that, to grow this care for relationships that we just don't write code, we write code for someone. That's important. If you do that on a regular basis, recommending things like you did with us.
Yeah. So there's a couple of books. Like I think Rework is a very refreshing take. There's also like a Dutch Agile book that is written by a Dutch digital agency that we have. But I can share some with you.
So my question was yes, thank you. But my question was more, what with your team, like, do you recommend your team like readings or to look at? So it's not for us, but if you're in the daily, or you have question dailies, do you recommend things like, oh, that you should do that?
Yeah. So the video that I showed you a little bit of it, I say everybody should look at this video. It's 15 minutes. It's Agile in a nutshell. I think it's very good. I mean, there's a lot of good books out there that you can recommend, but basically that 15 minutes, if you watch that, that's the essence that I want to make sure. And we have our own inspiration Slack channel. I will occasionally, we drop things into, but the video from Hendrik Knijberg, I think I'm going to be able to share my slides after, and the link is going to be in there. But that's the most important thing that I will have everybody look at.
Let's talk about how we actually.
Thank you.
So let's say you have a completely empty list. This is how you want to get.
Yeah.
So the first thing is you need to do is
Okay, we're good for lunch then, I think, in a bit. Thank you so much. Have fun.